r/NoSleep. Posted by you/lifeisstrangemetoo. The monster under your bed isn't always there to scare you. I was lying alone in my room when I heard the voice, deep and crackly, coming from beneath my bed. "Hey," the voice called out. I told myself I was just imagining it. "Hey kid," the voice repeated. I drew my knees up to my chest and ducked my head under the blanket, trying to shut out the voice and the cold wind that drifted in through the window, ruffling the curtains. "Who are you?" I asked. "I'm the monster underneath your bed," the voice replied. "You mean you're real?" I asked. "What do you mean?" The monster said. "Of course I'm real." "Do you have a name?" I asked. "Of course I have a name." "Oh. Well, what is it?" "Frank." "Frank?" "Yeah," the monster said. "Is there something wrong with that?" "No. I mean, I don't know," I said. "It's just not very monsterly." "Well, my parents didn't want me to be a monster." "Really? What did they want you to be?" "A dentist." "That's funny," I said. I could feel myself beginning to smile. "What do your parents want you to be?" it asked. "I don't know." "Hey Frank?" "Yeah?" "Aren't you gonna, scare me or something?" "What? Why would I do that?" "Well, you're a monster, aren't you?" "Well, yeah, of course I am, but that doesn't mean that I scare little kids." "But I thought that was your job." "It is my job to scare people," he replied. "But only bad people." "Am I a bad person?" I asked. "No," he said, "but you're not the one I'm here to scare." "Who are you here to scare?" I asked. "The man inside your closet." The skin on my arms goose-fleshed up. I wanted to ask him what he meant, but I fell silent as I heard a rustling coming from the closet. The door creaked open, and I could hear soft footsteps padding towards me across the bedroom floor. I didn't dare peek out of the blanket. The footsteps stopped, and I could hear heavy breathing next to me. I squeezed my eyes tight. The warm sanctuary of the blanket disappeared as it was yanked off me. I hugged my arms around my knees and prepared for the worst. A scream shattered the night air, followed by the sound of breaking glass. I opened my eyes a crack to see a knife lying on the carpet next to my bed, blade glinting in the moonlight. My parents rushed into the room and asked me what had happened, but I didn't know what to say, only that someone had been hiding in my closet and they'd jumped out the window. My parents called 911, and the police came right away. They picked up a man called Gary Thompson sprinting through the streets a couple blocks away. He was covered in blood and broken glass. They found Gary's car abandoned on our property, and inside they found duct tape, knives, barbiturates and a video camera. From what I heard, Gary's lawyer employed an insanity defense, and Gary is currently incarcerated in a state mental facility for the criminally insane. I never heard from Frank the monster again, but the officer who arrested Gary told me that he sleeps on the floor of the facility. He tells the doctors that he's terrified of Frank, the monster under his bed. The next story of this video. Posted by you/lifeisstrangemetoo. If you meet a demon who lives in a shoe, tell him I said thanks. I opened the door to find it sitting on my porch, a beaten-up old shoe with a red ribbon tied around it. I picked it up and inspected it, and saw a gift tag attached. The to and from fields were empty. All it said was "rub me." Not knowing what else to do, I rubbed the shoe. I almost wish I hadn't. Immediately after I rubbed it, a stream of dark and choking smoke poured out. In a coughing fit I dropped the shoe, and then I noticed that the smoke had begun to take shape. A moment later there was something floating before me that I guessed to be a genie. His skin was red and bulged with muscles. He had a neatly trimmed goatee, and his ears were hung with jewels and golden rings. He was shirtless and legless, his torso floating on a cloud of smoke. "How did you find my house?" he said. "Do you work for the IRS?" "What?" I said. "Of course not. Do I look like I work for the government?" "No," the genie said. "I was just making a joke." "Oh," I said. "That's funny. So, are you a genie?" The genie shook his head. "Don't be stupid," he said. "Genies don't exist." "Well, what are you then?" "A demon." "Oh." There was a moment of awkward silence. "Well, why do you live in a shoe?" I said. "I'm just renting it," the demon replied. "Until I can afford a nicer place upstate." There was another uncomfortable silence. "Look," the demon said, "are you going to make your wishes or not? I thought you said you weren't a genie." "Demons grant wishes too." "Oh," I said. "Okay. I wish for..." "Wait," the demon said. I need to explain the rules. There are rules? I asked. Of course there are rules, he replied. Now listen up, because I'm only going to explain this once. Just like a genie, you get 3 wishes, but only one of them can come true. I will only grant you your heart's deepest, truest desire. If you can guess it in 3 tries, then I'll let you have it. Otherwise, you don't get anything. Do you understand? I guess so, I said. I thought for a moment, and then I smiled. I wish to be rich beyond my wildest dreams, I said. Nope, the demon said. That's your head's desire, not your heart's. I carefully considered what he'd said, and then I knew I had it. I wish for a beautiful woman, I said, who loves me unconditionally and treats me like a king. The demon grinned and shook his head. Not quite, he said. But you're getting warmer. Be careful with this next one. It's your last. I rubbed my chin and thought. I thought and thought and thought, and, finally, I knew I had the answer. Demon, I said, I've figured it out. The demon seemed unconvinced. Go ahead, he said. I'm waiting. I had my dog Sam for 15 years, I said. He was the best friend that I ever had, and I had to put him down last week. I wish for you to bring him back. The demon smiled his widest yet, and nodded in assent. Yes, he said. You've got it. I'll bring your dog back to life. He snapped his fingers and disappeared in a puff of the same smoke he'd arrived in. I looked and saw the shoe was gone as well. I ran to my backyard where Sam was buried, ready to greet my friend with open arms. Only he wasn't there. Confused, I walked over to his grave, and that's when I saw what the demon had meant. A rotted paw poked out of the ground, followed swiftly by another. After that came his snout, lips peeled back from decay. Then came the tail, dirty and missing tufts of fur. Sam was always a digger, and dead or not, soon he had dug his way back up. My dead dog wagged his tail and licked my hand, looking up at me with joy. As I looked back down at him, I couldn't help but smile. He may have been dead and rotting, but he was still a very, very good boy.